What is going on, guys? Today we have a really interesting conversation about overseas bowling balls. These are one of the most mysterious and unique things in the game of bowling. We're going to explain everything we need to know about them and give a mini review on the Optimum Idol Glow that you're seeing on your screen right now. I want to give a huge shout out to Bowlers Connection down in Des Moines, Iowa. Jason Guest and his crew thankfully sent me an Optimum Idol Glow to review for this video. So huge thank you to you guys. They also have one of the best eBay shops in terms of international bowling balls and overseas bowling balls. Make sure to go check that out. All the link down below in the description. That's where you can find this Optimum Idol Glow for only $140. This is one of the cheapest prices that you're going to find for getting an overseas bowling ball that's actually pretty good. You're going to see me strike a little bit with it. I actually rattled off a 14 bagger between clips because I went back for 2 different days. But let's talk about some overseas bowling balls first. So I've said it a few times. What is an overseas bowling ball? Well, when we refer to this, this is a type of bowling ball that is made specifically for the overseas markets. These are the Asian markets. These are the European markets. These aren't for the American market, specifically the United States. These are bowling balls that are made for everywhere else, and they are different mishmashes and different combinations of various cores and covers that we generally see stateside. So for example, the ball you're seeing, the Optimum Idol Glow, is a bright yellow ball, but what is it? It is just an Optimum Idol Pearl with a different colorway to it. This is very common with a lot of the overseas bowling balls. You're going to see IQs with bright blue colorways. You see a couple of those everywhere. You see locks. If you like the old lock series, you're going to see a couple of those out. Right now, there's a ghost lock that is bright pink. There are many, many different core and cover designs. That's actually where the Attention came from originally. The Attention Star first was an overseas bowling ball. They loved it, and that's why it ended up coming stateside. So some of the big questions with overseas bowling balls come with, why aren't these released in the United States? Well, the main reason is there are a ton of bowlers across the world that aren't in the United States. And Storm doesn't have enough lines at their plant in Utah to actually make all of these for US and for overseas, and then have all of the US releases also running. That's just so many bowling balls. I know a lot of people who are watching this already are fatigued by how many bowling balls are on the market. That would just add to it. So these bowling balls then are made just for the overseas international crowd, and then stateside you can still get them, but it is very hard to do. With that, the question is, why is it so hard to get? Well, the problem is shipping is miserable. You don't have a lot of people who have connections to any of those international markets who can actually buy those bowling balls and get them shipped over to the United States. That is a lot of money. So a lot of the overseas bowling balls you're going to see are in $200, $250 to $300 range. That's the biggest negative with them, is that price is just so crazy. However, they are always really unique and generally really bright bowling balls. I have 2 overseas bowling balls right now, this Optimum Idol Glow and the Rubicon Extreme. It was a pearl Rubicon with a stronger cover. That thing's bright orange. This thing's bright yellow. All of the overseas balls generally are fairly bright at the end of the day. But when you're looking for these overseas bowling balls, you might notice that it's 95% Storm. Why is that? Well, it's kind of simple. Storm just has a good grasp of that market more than the other brands. You're going to see the Brunswick brands come out with some equipment. They just came out with a Theorem urethane. That sounds very interesting. And then you're going to see a billion Black Widows that get made for the overseas market. There was just one that was on Bowler's Mart. It was a bright green Black Widow Toxin Solid. And then you're going to see them kind of roaming around every now and then. However, Storm really makes the most bowling balls for that overseas market. And they have a lot of people actually go over there for lessons, for drilling, for tournaments, whatever it may be. As I'm recording this video, Chad McLean of Storm is over in Korea. I saw him drilling bowling balls, and he had a training day or something a couple of days ago. So should you get an overseas bowling ball? Really, if you want a bowling ball that's going to be unique, that nobody else is going to have in your building, absolutely. If you have the funds for it, because they are a little bit pricey most of the time, minus this Idol Glow in a couple rare situations throughout the year, then go ahead because these balls are generally really cool. They're very unique, they're different, you're not gonna see anybody with them, and sometimes they combine some of the best of the best. So for example, if you miss your Optimum Idol Pearl and you weren't able to get one of the pink ones, or you want something slightly different, here's the Idol Glow. Otherwise, there's usually a few Zens going around. Otherwise, I mentioned the Lock series from earlier. We haven't seen a domestic, United States lock bowling ball since the Sherlock, probably at least 4 years ago. If you want one, they have them overseas. So if you adore a certain core, a certain cover stock, that's your chance to go get them. And like I said, Bowlers Connection has an eBay page where they have various international bowling balls and they refresh these as they have stock available. So I'd recommend checking that out, maybe set up an alert for when they add new items to their shop, because you could be one of the first to get one of these pretty cool bowling balls. And generally in the United States, there's a very limited quantity of them. So make sure that you get it before it's gone forever. Now let's talk about the bowling ball you guys have been watching this entire time, the Optimum Idol Glow. This is a Microtrax Pearl Optimum Idol. It does have that AI core in it of that, I believe, 247056 differential, insanely strong AI core with that super strong Pearl cover stock. And you're going to see that this ball looks identical to the Optimum Idol Pearl. I never personally threw an Idol Pearl, but what it looked like, this one might be a little bit earlier and a little smoother, because this thing really did feel like that perfect step down from my Optimum Idol. I'm a big fan of the Idol, especially when I need to play a little straighter on something with a little more volume. That's where that ball excels for me. That's what I threw actually at Nationals this year for doubles and singles. And this is that step down. This is kind of where my Zen 25 fits right now. You're going to see just a handful of clips with the Rotogrip Gremlin, because I really wanted to show off what that Gremlin looks like compared to it, to really see the difference between a stronger symmetrical ball and that weaker asymmetrical ball. Now, I should preface, with the couple of overseas bowling balls I've had, I've actually had to take the surface down on them. This Optimum Idol Pearl did come at 1500 grit polished, but it didn't hook at all with the polish on it. I actually took it down to 3000 before these clips, and then it looked awesome. It was not looking good with the polish on it. I took the polish off and the thing looks really good on our house shot. Most of the clips are on a slightly beat up house shot, and a couple are on the fresh house shot. And you can kind of notice the difference is the fresh house shot, you see a lot more angle down lane with this Idol Glow. So for this Idol Glow, if you're looking for something that can replace your Optimum Idol Pearl, you want to be different and you want a very, very bright bowling ball. Trust me, this thing is obnoxiously bright. It is basically a brighter radioactive vibe, if you guys remember that from a year or so ago. If you want that, if you need a medium sharp bowling ball, if you want something you can play a little bit straighter with, because that Optimum Idol loves playing straighter. That's where it excels. And that seems to be where this Pearl is going to be good, when they're a little more beat up. When your Optimum Idol from a little straighter around 15, like that Idol always loves to be in there, when that starts to burn up, leave too many flat 10s, hooking too much, you just go to the Pearl version and then you're set. So if you want that, the Idol Glow is here for you. Otherwise, if you want other overseas bowling balls, make sure to go check them out, because there's so many just unique and really, really cool ones on the market. And if that's something that interests you, I'd recommend checking it out a little bit. It's something that I kind of dabble in a little bit and want to get a little more into, are some of those overseas bowling balls. But otherwise, I really want to thank you guys for watching this video. Again, huge thank you to Bowlers Connection down in Des Moines, Iowa. Make sure to go check out their eBay page that I'll have linked. If you're in the Iowa area, go there to get a ball drilled. They are incredibly talented pro shop guys there, so make sure to go check them out. But otherwise, I want to thank you guys so much for watching the video. Make sure to subscribe, and I will see you on the next one.